Hi everyone, and welcome to a Craftin Desert Divas new release highlight featuring the rainbow die. When you first receive your dies, they're going to be connected by these small metal tabs. Now for this set, you can choose to leave them together, or you can take them apart like I like to do, and to do that you can just use your wire snips to clip those metal wires apart, or you can bend them back and forth until they separate on their own. Now here's a look at both of the dies separated from each other. You can see they both have stitching detail on there, and that detail does match the rest of the Craftin Desert Divas dies that are in the shop as well. So to use these, I'm going to be using my Big Kick today, and I'm going to use the regular sandwich that I would use for any other wafer thin die. So that is my multi-purpose platform, both tabs down, a cutting plate, my paper, the die cutting side facing down, and then another cutting plate on top, and then I'll just run that through my die cutting machine. You can use whatever die cutting machine you like to use. Just make sure that you use the sandwich that works for wafer thin dies. Now these dies do have little holes on them, so if you find that the die won't release, it does have those holes that you can stick a little pin into and poke them out, and these release pretty easily. So you can see here I've got 6 different rainbow stripes that this cuts, and this cuts them all separately, and it also adds stitching detail to every little arc that is in the rainbow. Also, here's a nice close-up photo of that stitching detail you get on each and every separate piece of the rainbow. Moving on to the measurements of this rainbow, it is a very good size rainbow. It measures 3 5/8 inch across, and then tall it is 1 7/8 inch. So this is a fairly good size die that does stretch across the perimeter of an A2 size card base and does fill up quite a lot of the space. Now for the cloud, here's a close-up of that stitching detail. Not only does it have stitching detail along the edges, it also has some stitching detail in the center of the cloud that creates the look of puffs. Now the cloud measures 2 inches across by 1 1/8 inch tall. So again, this is the perfect size to fit at the end of the rainbow. Now here's a nice little close-up of that rainbow die and each and every arc that you get when you die cut that rainbow. Now here's also a closer look at the stitching on that cloud die. And one final photo for reference is the measurements on each one of those dies. I want to show you 2 different ways now to make your die colorful. So the first way is to die cut your rainbow die from all the different colors of the rainbow cardstock. So I did my red, my orange, now I'm going to yellow. I'll go all the way through my colors until I get to my purple. And I also went ahead and die cut 2 clouds from white cardstock as well. Now the first thing I want to do is just apply some glossy accents to the back of each one of these arcs, and I'm going in rainbow order, so my largest and first arc I put down was my red. Then I'll move on to my orange, applying some glossy accents, and I am just attaching this to a scrap piece of paper. So I'm moving on to my yellow, again a very thin layer of glossy accents, and I'll just place that right down, and these fit together perfectly like a puzzle, so it's not very hard to do this at all. Now, I'm using glossy accents for my glue here. You can use whatever liquid glue works best for you. I would suggest liquid glue because you do have that little bit of time to move it around and get it centered perfectly so both of the little ends match up on this rainbow. So I'm just finishing up with my final little piece here, my little arc, and that is the purple arc. Now I'm going to take my scissors and just trim this out. This glue dries fast, so it didn't have very much dry time at all, and I'm just going to simply trim around the back of this paper. And that white paper, since it's not cut, is going to hold all of those pieces together, and that was just a place for me to put down each one of these rainbows and to make my rainbow more colorful. So here you can see, once I have that all cut out, I've got a nice colorful rainbow ready to go on a card base. And you could use this as is, or you can add the 2 little clouds like I die cut here and just put them on the ends of the rainbow as well. There's a nice close-up of that rainbow all put together. And also there it is put together with a cloud on one end of that rainbow. Now another way to do this is to do partial die cutting. So I'm going to put my rainbow die right on this piece of cardstock. I'm using the same sandwich I use for all of my wafer thin dies. The only thing I'm going to do differently is I'm going to put my cutting plate right up against the edge of that rainbow. Now this has a tapered end, so it's not going to cut all the way to the end of the rainbow and separate all of these arcs. Once I pull this apart, you can see they are all interconnected down at the bottom. Then all I need to do is cut off both of those sides that are left on there and also the center. Now you can do this one of two ways. You can apply all of the little pieces that you've cut earlier. You can apply cardstock over the top of that. Or you can do like I'm doing here and separate each one of the little arcs and color them with watercolors, colored pencils, or like I'm doing here, I'm using my alcohol markers. So there are just a few different ways to really assemble this die and to use it as well. Now this is a great technique to use if you're going to be hiding the ends behind that behind those clouds. Then this is a great technique to use because all of the little ends of the rainbow stay connected and you're not dealing with so many pieces this way. So I'm finishing up here with some green, and then I'll move right on to my blue and then my purple as well to finish up the colors of the rainbow. Whenever you're doing this technique, just make sure that you have the right arc masked off and each one of the arcs you've colored in before is behind that cardstock so you don't actually get color where you don't want it. Now I just went ahead and trimmed off the bottom there. I've left these all connected to each other by the little ends, and then I can cover up those ends with two of the clouds, and this is ready to go on a card base as well. As always, the design team has been very busy with this new die set and made some amazing projects to help get you inspired. Here's a closer look. The new rainbow die set will be available in the Craftin Desert Divas shop. That link will be in the description box below. Thanks for watching!